Well, it took a long time, but summer's arrived here with a bang. Potentially, quite literally today, with thunderstorms on the horizon. Temperatures that 7 or 8 days ago were struggling up to 13 or 14 centigrade in the day. Now hit 30, 31 yesterday, predicted higher. And as expected, the plants have bedded in nicely. It's a side view of the shed. Everything is coming along nicely now. There's very little that's behind. My pumpkin, one of my pumpkin areas, these are, I've done a variety of different pumpkins. Unfortunately, they've not really set yet, so I can't really show you what variety they are. They're an Italian one. I could try and pronounce the name, Chioggia. There's also Asian pumpkins in there, which have the darker leaves there at the back. They're slightly behind, or more behind, those are summer squashes, and the courgette plants, which are now throwing out courgettes, stripped last night. Still a few peaches on that tree there, which is a peach tree, unsurprisingly. At cherries, I just do not have the inclination to go and try and net these bunches down to the birds again this year. I am quite early, so I do hope the light's okay. Outdoor tomatoes. It's been bone dry, there's no concern about anything nasty like blight, and I hope I'm not going to curse myself by saying that. And this is just a general have a look around. No, I've not missed them, they're not bolting like a weed, a plant in the wrong place. Yes, they are bolting, they're meant to. They're rat's tail radish, a giant radish, but you don't really eat radish, you eat the seed pods. First peas being swollen up, felt them first. And my bed's now full. These are some of my collection of Asian greens. Ironically, these are red tatsoi. I am trying to be good and move slow and concentrate. So, another set of Asian greens here. They quite often overlap with each other. These are Japanese sensai, they're all basically brassicas. I'll speak about them later on. Sweet corns bedding in, and people go on about the Three Sisters. I don't do that, I couldn't be bothered. I put lettuce in between, seems to work as well. And these are bok choy, red pak choy over there. They all grow very quick at this time of year. I mentioned that previously. Leeks, I'm hoping they're not too far on. I don't really want to be eating those in August. Kind of a bit of a delicate thing. I try to leave them long enough that they're big enough to survive the drier periods in the summer, but long enough, or not big enough that they're going to be ready, as I mentioned, in August. And fruit's beginning to set on the outside of the bees. It's probably going to come home, those, at some point. Much easier to keep on top of the watering, it's becoming a bit of a pain. Quick to catch crop of French fingers radish. I haven't done any of those for ages, so. Dahlia over there, that's come up from last year. Very dry bed, very mild winter. Hey presto, it's up. Although it's not as far on as my own late winter sown flowers. Great for taking home. I just never get around to doing it. Must keep on top of picking up the seed pods, although there's none as of yet. One of them increasing number of must do jobs as you walk around. Shallots settling in for a final run. Mizuna over there. and it feels like things have come on. It feels like we're there. It feels like things are working at last after that long dormant spell. And let's have a quick peek over. These are slightly behind another set of outdoor cordon tomatoes, but in this kind of weather everything just goes on. And there you are. I mentioned those last time. Had some last night with my son. They're nice. Green peas actually at the moment, and no different from normal. Because it's dry and warm and the pea pods are swelling, I do try and remember to give them a spare can of fluid. Wasn't going to do it, but I've banged some carrots out. I don't eat many carrots. I'm not interested in growing large carrots, so they don't get a huge amount of space. A green variety of pak choi. They just come on increasingly. In fact, at that size I should start to eat them, because by the time you have a couple the rest will be ready. Otherwise they start to bolt. If they do, carry on eating. There's not a problem. These are an Asian seed. If you get a UK based seed, they tend to be an F1 variety and much bigger. A much bigger form, so I know they don't have that far to go, and they taste much better. They taste sweeter when they're that size. You don't want to be growing a huge row of them, not unless you like tons and tons of pak choi. So another member of the cucurbit family. They just don't like cold. They are a semi-tropical tropical plant, and they're now beginning to put on speed. Same with ground beans. And I do germinate direct, so here there's a Asian form of dill. Doesn't grow much bigger than that actually. It needs to start picking. Another set of Asian greens, spinach, and another direct sowing of coriander. Dig a trench, soak it, throw the seed in, cover it slightly with an inch or so, keep it well watered, and they do like a warm temperature. And up some red beans, another set of Asian pumpkins, outdoor cucumber, market more, kometsuna, a mustardy type large pak choi, larger. Got a bit to go then, but you could start eating those now. Or I could start eating them if you were over here. And last year's dahlias popping through on the top, and this year's dahlias down there. Flowering pak choi. They're big and stemmy rather than leaf. You're after the flower and the stem, so you might think you've missed them when they've bolted. They have bolted, but that's what you want. Much like the radish we were speaking about earlier. Another set of bok choy. And the apple's beginning to drop. What I should do is start pruning a bit. I know what I should do, I just don't have enough time. Start thinning out the middle ones for space. And the typical June drop, even though we've now just hit July. But good set this year. The ever reliable Hurst green shaft, which is probably topped out now and will put all its energy in the flowers. Seems strange thinking I'm probably not going to do any more peas this year. And thanks for someone who mentioned last year that this is Cleome. So I only got 2 surviving plants, but I kept it in the greenhouse for a long while, and this week they went out. They are a nice flower. And in addition to my green banana, I picked up a red banana. Been after one for years, but too stingy, too tight to pay up for one. This one was damaged. Picked it up for £1 or £2. Left him in the greenhouse for about 3 weeks and he's fine. Another loser of the cold weather, the runner bean frame. There's some climbing French beans in there. When I first started, the summers were warm and it was so easy to do. Now they're really tricky. They're not actually difficult to grow, they're difficult to carry on growing just because they like warmish temperatures. But now the plants are coming on and they're beginning to stretch up. The aldermen, they're really beginning to swell. They've topped out and they must be 12 feet. They might be my record up there. They've nearly hit the top, and we were going to do an experiment, 8 feet of first green shaft, wave a yield of 8 feet of alderman. I don't know who'd win. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to carry out the experiment. My friend's got the 8 feet of her green shaft. And what's so great about this time of year, where this bed, I think had just gone up and was empty, these seedlings just fly at this time of year. What takes weeks and weeks before in cold, miserable, damp weather suddenly is on steroids, and you can't stop the damn things. Not that you want to, of course. There has been some consequences of the dry weather. The chard, the beets, 1 or 2 have bolted. These are celery giant Russian variety. I've had 1 or 2 go bolt, even though it's in the north facing damp heavy soil. Asian celery, never know the difference, but my wife assures me there is, not least from the front of the packet that says so. And these will be finished probably on my next video and be being picked or saved for seed. In between there's again a courgette tromboncina, 4 of them in there. Yeah, you can just start to see them, they're really romping away, and they'll cover the space when the alderman turns yellow. Nothing remarkable here. The spring onions have been given bags and bags fulls. My megaton cabbage, which I was going to unnet for you, but I'm lazy and I can't be bothered. I don't know if you can see them. They are beginning to settle in. I don't know if you've got anything for size there. It's a bag of compost. See it? Bag of compost, that'd be about a big shopping bag full. And if you don't mind the wobble, they're not bad. My garlic, someone said it was big garlic. It was big garlic this year, and I've got a fair few kilograms of that, if you can see it all. And a couple more trays here, and that's another one of the bog standard jobs, keeping and tying in the chilies and tomatoes. That's tomatoes. There's not really time to show everything, so I'll just have a quick mention of my broad beans, which are probably coming to the end now, as in top growth. Chilies, slightly stalled after the cold weather. Flowers, someone asked me about insects. Well, I come in here most days, so I do quite a lot of hand pollination, and you can see baby flowers. I just tickle them, as I call it. And these are the Capsicum chinensis, so these are super hot and they take a lot of work growing those. in a climate like this. And that, in fact, is next year's set, waiting to germinate over 6 to 8 weeks. That's just your regular jalapenos, so on and so forth. And cucumbers, well, I reckon somewhere in here there's several set, and they're swelling literally by the minute. Onions, next time we see them, they'll be stacked and racked. They'll be coming to an end of their life shortly. Giant marrow tempest here. That was a garlic bed that's now empty, restocked with beans and some more Asian vegetables. Choy-sum. Gailan, or Chinese broccoli, and yet this must be about the third cold frame full since I last filmed. And there's no real surprises back here. Try and keep it full till August. After that, lose motivation. Blueberries, keep an eye on these. If you don't have netting on them, the birds will have them. Same megaton cabbage here, netted. Spare pak choy around the edge. These actually aren't as big as my inferior plants. More celery at the back. It's very much a spread it out and spread it across your plot celery. You get longer with it. Some will be faster, some will be slower. Giant Russian broccoli, which is now beginning to head. It's a bit of a nuisance to take this off, so hopefully, yeah, can you see that? I think so. It's a broccoli. Gooseberries, top fruit pear. So that's pretty much how things are looking from here. And I will break my promise. I'm going to have to go on speed mode because I've only got a minute or two of filming left. So things become a little bit easier at this time of year. You could do with the odd bit of rain. But otherwise I'm not complaining. It's been a long wait this year for summer. I finally reached the top. And excuse my shadow. A good consequence of being late in planting up was my bedding was slightly advanced, so even though it was cold, it's opened a little bit more. Quite pleased with that, but it's north facing, so it's always a bit difficult to get it out earlier on in the summer. And I do like it because it gives me an experience in flowers. For now, that's all. I hope your gardening's doing okay. It's going to be an absolute scorcher here today, about time too. And I'm just going to do a bit of watering. Enjoy your gardening.